7 countries you will need visa to go in there. So that's the meaning when you see this on the top right-hand side of my screen. When you see this, it means that in that country, dual citizenship is allowed, it's permitted. So if you become a citizen of that country, you can still keep your passport, your original passport. And when you see this, it means that dual citizenship is only allowed under certain conditions. In most cases, it will mean that you can keep your dual citizenship if one of your parents makes you a dual citizen. But otherwise, you are going to have to drop your citizenship. When you see this, it means that dual citizenship is not permitted. So if you want to become a citizen of that country, you have to renounce your original citizenship. When you see this icon, it means that your immediate family can come with you when you are a student, and your spouse can work. Of course, your children cannot work because you are only permitted to bring children that are under 18 who are not old enough to work, and those that are over 18 but are disabled who cannot also work. So when you see this icon, you can bring your family as a student and your family can work. When you see this new icon, this one with the broken box around it, it means that your family can come and your spouse can work under certain conditions. So you probably will need to make a special application to immigration to ask for permission for your spouse to work and things like that. So there are conditions that you have to fulfill. When you see this, then your family can come, but your spouse cannot work. And finally, when you see this, it means that your extended family can come with you. Your spouse, your children, your parents who are over 60, sometimes your step-parents, your grandparents, they can come with you. So just be on the lookout for these icons on the screen. So just to start with, I would like everyone to know that there are no tuition-free study options in Asia. No tuition-free study options. Like last webinar, we had I think about 2 countries where you can study without tuition. So for this session, no tuition-free study option in Asia. And so like I said, we're going to be talking about options in Latin America, the Caribbean, and Asia. And this is the map of the world for you to have a look at where we are talking about. So today, we are looking at this region and this region. Last time, we looked at these 2 regions. And so we are starting with East, West, and Southeast Asia. And we're going to be covering China, Hong Kong, Japan, Taiwan, South Korea, Qatar, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Southeast Asia. Within Southeast Asia, we'll look at Malaysia, Singapore, Thailand, the Philippines, and Vietnam. Okay, so this is the map of Asia there on the left. And this is where the countries that we are covering are. You can see China there at the center. And then I think that should be where you have Hong Kong, which is more or less like a colony of China, so to say. And that's Japan there to the right. That's the eastern part. And then you have Taiwan there, very close to Hong Kong. That's Thailand down there. That's Qatar there, and Kuwait is there with Saudi Arabia by the side. And then Turkey over there. South Korea is here. Malaysia is down there. And then you have Singapore there. The Philippines is over here. And Vietnam right inside there. So for Southeast Asian countries, let me just quickly mention that there is something called the Asean Chapter, which provides benefit for citizens and PRs of 10 member countries. So even if you can't get citizenship of any one of these countries, if you're able to get the PR, you can still take advantage of this the charter, which applies to anyone who is a citizen or PR of any of these countries: Brunei, Cambodia, Indonesia, Laos, Malaysia, Myanmar, the Philippines, Singapore, Thailand, and Vietnam. So all of them are within the same region of, so ASEAN stands for Association of Southeast Asian Nations. So all these countries are in Southeast Asia, and they have this association. So how does that apply to you as an international student? Because some of the charter benefits, even if you are not a PR, you can take advantage of them. For example, easier and cheaper travel options within the region, it applies to everyone. So you can easily fly from any one of those countries to the other at very, very cheap prices. I mean, something as cheap as, say, less than $200, less than $100 actually, like around $25. Sometimes you can travel to some of these countries. Sometimes you can get free seats on airlines just to visit any of these countries. Sometimes you get discounted hotels or free hotels when you make bookings, so everyone can enjoy all of that. Study options for those who have PR or citizenship. So all of that things that you can enjoy as an international student. So we start with China, and that's the largest nation in the world with over 1.4 billion people. Average tuition is around between $2,500 to $10,000. There are several scholarships. I'm not touching on scholarships today because it's a huge topic on its own. And I think by the end of July, we're going to be having a session just on scholarships. So please note it down in your calendar. I'm not sure of the date now. I think the date is in the announcement section. So when we get there, I'll remind you. So work and study policy for China, you can work 40 hours per month. So you can break that down over weeks or days, and then you know how many hours you can work per day. And then no post-study work policy, except if you're able to find a job. So if you find a job, you can stay back and work, but there are no post-study work policy. PR or citizenship is, well, you will be told that it's possible, but it's extremely difficult for foreigners. But you can have citizenship by birth if your parents are Chinese or one of your parents is Chinese. So how does that apply for you as an international student? If you're married to a Chinese citizen, then your child can have Chinese citizenship. And the country is number 55 on passport index. You can enter into 29 countries, visa-free, 51 countries, visa on arrival, and 118 countries, you need visa. Dual citizenship is not permitted in China. You can bring your family, but your spouse cannot work. Okay. Next one is Hong Kong, same passport situation, but Hong Kong is number 13 on passport index, and that means if you hold up a Hong Kong passport or PR, you have access to 111 countries visa-free and 41 visa on arrival. You only need visa to 46 countries. And by the time you count them, you probably really don't need visa because they may not be countries that you really want to go. So population is about 7.6 million. It's a very small country. Average tuition in Hong Kong, I think, is one of the highest in Southeast Asia. So it's quite high. And work and study is not allowed. Post-study work policy has to be based on visa. The currency is very strong also because it's the Hong Kong dollar. It's very strong. If you have worked there for 7 years, you can get citizenship in Hong Kong. Your family can come, your spouse can't work. Taiwan is also in the same region. Population is about 24 million. Tuition is quite low, as you can see there for undergraduate program. For postgraduate program too, it's a bit, it can be low or high depending on what course you're trying to study. But relatively, we would say the tuition there is quite low. It's affordable. You can work 20 hours per week. You will need to apply for the permit too. And post-study work policy is non-existent. You have to have a work permit to be able to stay back. So you need a job. You can If you pass the Mandarin Chinese exam test and you have lived in Taiwan for 5 years, you can apply for citizenship. And your 5 years PR study years doesn't count for that. So even if you are studying for 6 years, you still need to live for 5 years for you to qualify. And Japan is next there. Population is about 124.5 million. Tuition is a bit high. You can work 28 hours per week. You need a work visa to stay back. The passport is quite strong. It's number 4 in the world. It means that you are able to enter 115 countries without visa, 50 countries visa on arrival, and only 33 countries require visa to go. You cannot hold dual citizenship in Japan. Your family can come, but your spouse can't work. So, and then for citizenship, you need to have lived 5 years in the country. You need 10 years as a PR. And then if you are born stateless in Japan, you also have automatic citizenship. What that means is abandoned children, unclaimed children, yes, they can be Japanese. South Korea is number 2. Passport index, 117 countries visa free, 50 visa on arrival. You can bring your partner and children. Your partner can't work, and dual citizenship is not allowed. Population is about 52 million. Average tuition is also low, quite affordable for both for undergraduate and postgraduate programs. You can work 20 hours per week if you are an undergraduate and 30 hours per week if you are studying at postgraduate level. Upon graduation, there is no post-graduation work permit. You need a work visa to be able to stay back. And for citizenship and PR, if you have lived for 5 years as a PR, you can apply for citizenship. And then if you invest $500,000 in business or in property, and you are able to hire 5 locals maybe to work for you, then you can apply for citizenship. If you marry a Korean citizen or a PR as well, you can get that. Your family, okay, I think I've mentioned that your family can come, your spouse can't work. Now we'll move on to the western part of Asia, and that's where you have Qatar. Qatar is just 2.79 million people. That's less than 3 million people. It's a very small country. Average tuition is about $3,000 for undergraduate programs and $7,000 for postgraduate programs. You can work 20 hours per week, but only on campus. And post-study work policy does not exist. You need a work visa to be able to stay back. Passport is number 43. Access to 62 countries visa free, 44 countries visa on arrival. If you have lived for 25 years in Qatar, you can become a citizen. Or if you have lived for 20 years, you can apply for PR. Then you can apply for PR if you are born in Qatar and you have lived there for 10 years as well. Dual citizenship is not allowed, and your family is not kind of welcome. Kuwait, the same thing. This one is a little bigger than Qatar, 4.38 million people, average tuition between $7,000 to $20,000 per year. But you know, in these places, the advantage is that there are several scholarships that international students can access, especially if you are in the technology field. Work and study policy is non-existent. You can't work as an international student. And then for study work policy, you need a work visa. 20 years of living in the country, you can apply for citizenship. And the passport is number 45. 53 countries visa free, 45 countries visa on arrival. Saudi Arabia is next, and that's about 36 million population. Average tuition is around 5,000 to say 15,000 for undergraduate programs, 8,000 to 21 for postgraduate programs with several scholarships that you can access. You can work for 20 hours per week, and you need work visa to stay back after graduation. There is no post-graduation work permit. If you pay $213,000 to the country, you can get your PR. So that's your kind of golden passport. You can get a PR for $213,000, and 10 years of living as a PR, you can actually apply for citizenship. Well, there may be other factors which you need to check out on. It's number 49 on passport index, 44 country visa free, 45 country visa on arrival. Okay, so this is UAE, that's the United Arab Emirates, and the population is about 10 million, and the dual passport is not allowed. Your spouse and children can come with you, but your spouse can't work as a student. This is the #1 passport in the world. It allows access to 115 countries visa-free, 55 visa on arrival, and only 28 that you need a visa to enter into. Average tuition is around 10,000 to 20,000 per year. There are several scholarships. For postgraduate program, minimum is about 15,000 per year. You can work 4 hours per day or 40 hours per week during holidays. Work visa is needed for you to stay back after study, so there is no post-study work visa. For PR and citizenship, if you own a property worth $272,000, then you can get PR or citizenship. If you have a bachelor's degree and your earnings per month is in excess of $4,084, then you are also qualified to apply for citizenship. However, the passport, the UAE passport, is not renewable. Holders need to apply. You actually apply every 5 years. So more information on that is here. So like mentioned, dual passport is not allowed. The passport is only available to citizens and newborns or their foreign wives. Foreign husbands are not covered, as you can see. The validity is 5 years from issuance or until all pages are fully utilized, whichever one comes first. You must reapply for a new passport upon expiration, and no extension is allowed. As you can see in the note at the bottom of the screen, UAE is a federation of 7 emirates or states, and these include Abu Dhabi, Dubai, Sharjah, Ras Al Khaimah, Ajman, Kuwait, and Fujairah. The capital is Abu Dhabi. So if you are from any one of these emirates, you can hold the UAE passport. But you also have a passport from your country. As you will notice that I've presented passports from some of these countries. So you can hold, you have to be renewing the UAE passport, which is the #1 passport in the world. You have to renew every 5 years. And then Malaysia comes next. The passport is number 9 on passport index, 115 countries visa-free, 43 visa on arrival. Population is about 33 million. Average tuition is between 1,600 to 3,000 undergraduate programs. And they just something very similar to for postgraduate programs. You cannot work and study, and then there is no post-study visa. You have to get a work permit. That means you need to get a job before you can stay back after graduation. And but of course, there is student work experience, which allows you for the last semester of your study as an undergraduate student to work, to find an organization outside the university and work with them. And if after working with them, they choose to retain you, then that's your law. So you can stay back and work for them. They will switch your student visa to work visa. And they put a PR or citizenship policy. Well, you can get a PR in Malaysia. You can't really get citizenship because it's much more complicated. There are only certain group of people who can get citizenship in Malaysia. If you come from any one of the races that exist here, you may be able to get citizenship. That is, if you are Indian from mainland India, if you're Chinese from mainland China, If you are Malay from Indonesia, then you might be able to get citizenship in Malaysia. Otherwise, you can go for the PR, which is very, very close to being a citizen. 3 years work is required for you to apply for PR, as there are so many other conditions you need to meet. If you marry a Malaysian, you can also get a PR, but you can never become a citizen of Malaysia based on marrying a citizen. You need, for the golden passport, you need to have $2 million deposited in a bank account for 5 years. And with that, you will be able to access 5 years or 10 years of PR. Or if you collaborate with a local or a tech business, you can also get a PR. If you have a PhD and you are earning up to $3,700 or more per month for 3 years, then you can also get Malaysian PR. You can come with your family. Dual citizenship is not allowed, obviously. You can come with your family, or your spouse cannot work. And the condition for extended family also is that if your wife is coming, then your mother cannot come. So you have to choose, for example, between your wife and your mother, or between your husband and your mother, or something like that. So you have to choose between parents or spouse. Both of them cannot come at the same time. Okay, and then Indonesia is next, which is very close to Malaysia, just a boat ride away from Malaysia. 275 million people. Average tuition is low because the currency is also a little bit weak. So average tuition is around $1,500 to $6,100 per year for undergraduate programs, and from $2,000 to $10,000 for postgraduate programs. You can find a very comfortable place within this. And over time, or rather in recent time, Indonesia education is picking up, and a lot of international students are beginning to consider Indonesia. The drug law in Indonesia is very extreme. Indonesia and I think Singapore, you are caught with drugs, it is death. No story, it's death straight. So if you're thinking about that, please, that's not a place to consider. And then PR or citizenship policy is 5 years of PR for you to get citizenship, married to a local for 2 years, or if you have 5 years of RP and you're married to a local, you can become a citizen as well. Indonesia is number 53, as you can see there, and you can bring your family, your spouse can to work. Dual citizenship is not allowed. India is, I think, number 2 biggest nation, largest nation in the world after China. Population 1.38 billion, that's about 1.4 billion people, or very close to China as well. Average tuition is around $3,300 to $7,800 for both undergraduate and postgraduate program. Study and work is illegal in India, so don't be caught. For PR or citizenship, there is no post-study work visa. You need a job for you to stay back. PR or citizenship, you can get that by investing $1.3 million within 18 months in the system, or $3.1 million within 36 months. And if you have lived in India continuously for 11 out of 12 years, then you can also apply for a PR or citizenship. Number 66 on the passport index list, that means with the passport, 20 countries visa-free, 48 countries visa on arrival, and you need, and 130 countries, you need visa to enter into them. Dual citizenship is not allowed. Your family can come with you, but your spouse cannot talk. Thailand is next, that's number 51 on passport index, 39 countries visa-free, 49 visa on arrival, and population is about 67 million. Average tuition, relatively low, it goes like, straight from the lowest to the highest, from 1,900 to 30,000. So it depends on what course you're studying. So don't let that figure scare you. Mostly a lot of times for those who are interested in studying medical programs, it's usually on the very, very high side. So that's why you can see it's so high. Work and study is not allowed. If you graduate, you want to stay back, you need a work permit. There is no post-study work permit. You need a job to be able to stay back. If you have lived for 3 years, you can apply for PR. If you have lived for 10 years as a PR, you can apply for citizenship in Thailand. The passport gives you access to 39 countries visa-free, and dual citizenship is allowed. So you can keep your original passport if you get a Thailand passport. You can bring your family or your spouse and work. The Philippines is at the northern part, and that's 112.5 million people. That's a relatively large nation. And number 64 of passport index, that's 1 countries visa-free, 39 visa on arrival. Average tuition is low for both undergraduate and postgraduate programs. You can study and work. And then citizenship policy, you need to, if you marry a local, you can get a PR. If you have lived in the country for 10 years plus, you can apply for citizenship. There is no post-study work permit, so you need a work visa to be able to stay back after graduation. Dual citizenship is allowed under certain conditions, and you can bring your family, but your spouse cannot work. In Vietnam, you have a population of about 99 million. Average tuition is also quite low, very affordable. You work and study is allowed under, but I think it's conditional. And then the post-graduation work permit does not exist. You need a work visa to be able to stay back. 3 years of PR, you can apply for. If you have lived for 3 years, you can apply for PR. And if you have lived for 5 years and you speak Vietnamese, you can apply for citizenship. The passport is number 71, and so may not be all that interesting, because it only gives you access to 19 countries visa-free. Most of them will be in Southeast Asia, and 44 countries visa on arrival. Your dual citizenship is allowed under certain conditions, and your family can come or your spouse can't. So in summary, for Asian countries, many Asian countries have low tuition options. Average tuition ranges from 1,000 to well above 21,000. We've seen for 30,000, but you can always find what you want within the affordable region. Work and study policy is allowed in certain places, but not in some other places. Work visa is required for most of the countries, and citizenship policy sometimes require that you know the language, or you can pay your way through to a passport, or based on marriage or being bonded. So that's a summary for that. Then we move on to the Americas. And this is the Americas, as you can see there. The upper section there is the popular places that you know, the US, Canada, all that, but we are looking down at the green region mostly. Most of the countries that we are considering are there. So we are going to be looking at Mexico. I think there's a country down there that should be Argentina there, and then Cuba. We have the Bahamas there. Dominican Republic is there. Brazil. I think Canada is up at the northern part, and the Dominica is also there. So please don't mix up Dominican Republic and Dominica. They are two different countries. And then Jamaica is there, the middle Paraguay, then the US, I think we also Barbados, US, Venezuela. We are going to be looking at all those. So there is what is called the Charter of the OAS states. The OAS states are all these countries. There are 35 member countries, including the US and Canada. You can see them. So they have this charter that is similar to the Southeast Asian Chapter that we talked about before, and that's for the Organization of the American States. There are things that they share in common. So a lot of times what it will mean for you is If you get passport or PR for these countries, then you can actually move around within them, just like the blue card when we talked about Europe the last time. So there is also the Charter of the OAS states, which can be, and these are the member countries, like I said. So we'll start with Mexico. It's number 15 on passport index, access to 96 countries visa-free, 51 countries visa on arrival. Population is about 131.5 million. Average tuition between 8,000 and 10,000. As you can see there, it can go up to 45,000 for postgraduate programs. You can't work and study. You need work visa to stay back. You need to have lived 4 years for you to apply for PR. You can get citizenship by birth. That means irrespective of whether your parents are citizens or not. 5 years of residence for citizenship, and then you must speak Spanish and pass the test on Mexican history. How this apply to you as an international student mostly will be, or as a non-student will be, if you give birth to your children in Mexico, they have Mexican citizenship automatically. Dual passport is allowed, and you can bring your family, you can bring your grandparents, your step-parents, your extended family can come with you. Argentina is next, and that is number 11 on passport index. 106 countries visa-free, 49 visa on arrival. Population 46 million. Dual passports is allowed. Sorry, dual citizenship is allowed. Your family can come with you, but your spouse cannot work. Average tuition is around 3,000 to 20, depending on the course. Public university is free in Argentina, so if you are able to get into the public university, then you may not be paying tuition. You can work 20 hours per week, but you need a work visa to stay back. Citizenship or PR is based on marriage to a local, or 2 years of PR, and 2 years as PR for you to apply for citizenship. Then we have Cuba there, which is number 60. Cuba is 11.4 million people, so a relatively small country. Tuition is quite high. You can work and study for 20 hours per week. You need work permit to stay back. PR and citizenship policy is based on marriage to a local, or you can get citizenship by birth as well. Dual citizenship is not allowed anyway, so you're going to need to renounce your original citizenship to become a citizen of Cuba. Your family can come, your spouse can't work. The Bahamas is number 20, 102 countries visa-free, 39 countries visa on arrival, and dual citizenship is not allowed. Your spouse can come with your children, but your spouse cannot work. The population is very, very small. It's a very, very small island. That's about 400,000 people. Average tuition is about 2,500 to 10,000. And you can work and study. There are no rules based on that. And but after graduation, you need a work permit to stay back. You can get PR or citizenship if you invest $750,000 in the business there. Or if you are married to a local, you can also get a PR. If you have PR for 10 years or for 7 years, if you are married to a local, then you can become a citizen. If you have lived in the Bahamas for 6+ years, within that 10 years of citizenship, within that 10 years, then that's when you will qualify. If you live for less than 6 years, then you will not qualify. Passport is number 20, access to 102 countries visa-free, 39 countries visa on arrival. The Dominican Republic is next. That's a population of about 11 million. Average tuition is also around 8,500 to 5,000, and about 950 to 10,000 for postgraduate programs. Passport is number 57, 31 countries visa-free, 47 visa on arrival. You can not work and study, and you need a work visa to stay back. But with 5 years, earning $2,000 per month, you can apply for citizenship. And your dual passport is allowed, and your family can come, but your spouse can't. Brazil is another one with a huge population of 215.5 million. Average tuition is low from around 2,000, or you can work and study, and you need a work visa to stay back. The passport is number 10, and that's 108 countries visa free, 48 visa on arrival. If you are a researcher and you have a job in any Brazilian research institute, you get a PR. If you are married to a local or a PR, you also get a PR. If you want to become a citizen by investment, you need to invest $500,000 to get a PR, or you can invest $150,000 and create 10 jobs to become a PR. After 4 years as a PR, and you can speak the Portuguese language, you can get your citizenship in Brazil. And I think Brazil also gives citizenship by birth. If your child is born there, you need to get automatic citizenship. Dual passport is allowed, and you can bring your extended family, not only your spouse and immediate family. Canada is included on the list because it's also in the Americas, and there are actually cheap places where you can study in Canada depending on your course. So for a venture, there is anyone on the call today and you are interested in studying maybe a program like music, you can get in touch with AROS. There are some very, very cheap programs that you can access. Population is about 39 million. So average tuition can go as low as 2,000. So don't think of 2,000 when you're thinking of Canada, because most of the courses will not fall in that category. But because there are some courses in that category, that's why Canada is included on this list. You can work for 20 hours per week, and you can work full-time during the holidays. There is post-study work visa. So this is an error. There's a post-study work visa in Canada, depending on how long your program is. If your program is shorter than 9 months, you are going to need a work permit to stay back. But if your program is longer than 9 months, you're going to get a work permit, a post-study work permit that is equal to the length of your program. And there are provinces that actually gives you a year in addition to that. So for example, you studied for 2 years, you can get a 3-year work permit. After 5 years of PR, you can apply for citizenship. 6 years of citizenship, after 6 years, you can get your citizenship. That's the meaning. You can become a citizen by birth. If you're born in Canada. If you're married to a citizen, after 3 years, you can also apply for your citizenship. If you invest $945,000 for 5 years, then you can get the golden passport of Canada. Then the passport is number 5 on the passports index, gives you access to 112 countries, visa free, 52 visa on arrival. You can keep your old passport if you get Canadian passport, so dual citizenship is allowed. Your family can come. Your spouse cannot work under normal circumstances, but under certain conditions, you can actually get approval for your spouse to work. The Dominican Republic and Dominica, about 72,000 people there. Passport number 31, 87 countries, visa free, 39 visa on arrival. Average tuition is around 4,000 to 12, and it may go up to 18 for postgraduate programs. Work and study not recommended. You need a work visa to stay back. 5 years of living for you to get the PR. You can also become a citizen by birth or by marriage. And then if you invest $100,000 plus in the system, or $25,000 in real estate for 3 years, depending on the size of the family, you can also get the PR or citizenship of Dominica. And then passport, like I said, is number 31. Your dual citizenship is allowed, and family information is quite hazy for Dominica. Jamaica is next. That's number 48 on the passport index. 54 countries visa free, 38 countries visa on arrival. Population is very small, that's just about 3 million people. Average tuition is around 6,000. You might be able to find scholarships. And then for you to be able to work as a student, you need a work permit or a CARICOM skill certificate. A CARICOM refers to Caribbean Community and Common Market. So it's a certificate that allows you to verify that you have certain skills, and then based on those skills, you can work. You need a work visa for you to stay back after graduation. If you have worked for 3 years, you can get a PR. If you are living in Jamaica, that is, you have a job after graduation and you live for 3 years, then you can get a PR. If you are married to a citizen, you can also get a PR. If you retire and you have a good pension, you can also have a PR. And then 5 years of residency. After that, you can get your citizenship. The passport is number 48, 54 countries visa free, 38 visa on arrival. Dual citizenship is allowed, and you can bring your family, your immediate family, but your spouse will not be able to work. Paraguay is next. Dual citizenship is not allowed. You can bring your family, your spouse can't work. Passport is number 26. 86 countries visa free, 48 visa on arrival. Population is about 7.4 million, and average tuition can go as low as $1,000 per year. That's about $500 per semester. Whether your program is undergraduate or postgraduate, you can work and study, but you need a work visa to be able to stay back. For citizenship, if you deposit 4,200 in a bank account, that's quite low. 4,200 in a bank account, you can get your PR. And if you have lived for 3 years as a PR, you can apply for your citizenship. So I think that looks really nice. And then we have the US. It's also entering into this list because of the same reason that Canada is in there, because there are a few countries that are quite low tuition-wise. Population is huge, as you expect. You can work 20 hours per week, 40 hours during the holidays. You can stay back for, I think, about 6 months after graduation. Then there are other advantages that you have there. That's one of the reasons why it's also included on the list. If you have a PhD, for example, you can apply for the skilled worker visa that allows you to become a PR and a citizen of the America, of the US. Yeah? If you are married to a citizen, you can get your PR. 5 years as PR, you can apply for your citizenship. You also can get citizenship by birth. And there are also a number of visas that you can explore as a student who graduated from an American university or college. There are a lot of opportunities that you can join. Don't let the average tuition there scare you. The reason when you say average, what it means is that there are values that could be, there could be several values below that, but by the time you sum it up with those that are really high, it goes a lot up. So there are several places where you can study in the US for as low as $5,000. So don't let the figures scare you. The passport is number 3, 112 countries visa free, 54 countries visa on arrival. Dual citizenship is allowed, so you can keep your passport if you get an American passport, if your country allows it. And your spouse can, and children can come with you, but your spouse will not be able to work except under certain conditions. So there are different kinds of visas. If your spouse is on the wrong visa, they may not be able to work, but if they have the right visa, they might be able to work. Barbados is 228,000 people. That's a very, very small country, just a tiny one right there in the Caribbean region. Average tuition can go down as low as $2,000. Work and study policy is not really the thing there, and you need a work visa to stay back. 5 years as PR, 5 years of living in the country can give you access to become a PR. And after 7 years of living there, you can become a citizen. Passport is number 17 on the passport index. 108 countries visa free, 37 countries visa on arrival. Dual citizenship is allowed, and your family can come with you, but your spouse will not be able to work. I think Venezuela is the last one. And let's see, okay. No, let me say I have like 2 more. So Venezuela is number 33 on passport index, 73 countries visa free, 51 visa on arrival. Population is about 29 million, and average tuition is relatively high. You can work 20 hours per week. You need a work visa to stay back. No PR opportunity here, and you need to live there for 10 years to apply for citizenship. But dual passport is allowed in Venezuela, and you can bring your extended family. Uruguay is number 17, 95 countries visa free, 48 visa on arrival. Population is quite small too, about 3.5 million. Average tuition is very, very low. Can go down as low as $1,200. And there are terms and conditions for the work and study policy. So you need to apply to the immigration system as an international student for you to get permission to be able to work. After graduation, you need a work visa to stay back. You can get citizenship by birth. So if you're married to a local or a citizen of Uruguay and you have a child, your child is automatically a citizen, irrespective of the national. Even if you are not married to a local, if your child is born in Uruguay, the child is automatically Uruguayan. And if you own a business or practice any profession in Uruguay, you can also become a citizen. 5 years of PR or 3 years if you are married to a citizen, then that can also make you a citizen. And then you can also become a citizen of Uruguay just by the concession of the General Assembly. So that's like the parliament. If the parliament says, we give this man citizenship, then you are a citizen. And if you are someone with outstanding merit, maybe you made a discovery, a big time discovery, or you have a patent to your name, yeah, or you are an outstanding sports person. So if you are outstanding, you can get citizenship by merit. Now, Uruguay is one country that is a little bit special because it has very high income per capita as well. And then you see that there is no level of inequality in the country, no level of poverty, which is not what you can say for most countries of the world. There is almost complete absence of extreme poverty in Uruguay, and it has the largest middle class in the whole of America. That means about 60% of the population is in the middle class. So not many poor people in Uruguay, and not too many unnecessarily rich people. Passport is number 17, 95 countries visa free, 48 visa on arrival. Dual citizenship is allowed, and you can bring your extended family. Colombia is also in the same region, number 30, 83 visa free, 47 visa on arrival. Population is about 50 million, and average tuition can go as low as $2,000 per year. You can't work and study, and you need a work visa to stay back. And you need 5 years of living in the country, or 2 years if you are married to a Colombian national to become a PR. And if you are a permanent partner of the Colombian national, you can also get a PR too. If you have Colombian children, you can get a PR. And if you invest in real estate, about $165,000, you can also get a PR. So that's Colombia, number 30. And you can bring your family to study, and your spouse will not be able to work. Dual citizenship is allowed. So the most expensive Asian countries to study or live in was also compiled for you here. So this is top 10 in Asia by living costs. So the cheapest place to live, obviously, is in Indonesia, and the most expensive place to live is Taiwan. And then for the Americas, the cheapest place to live is Venezuela, and the most expensive is the US. And so this is AROS transactions, and these are the contact information of AROS. If you need to make any contact, if you need to clarify anything, if you need information about any studying anywhere out of the countries that are covered by AROS, this information for you to reach out.